is in the name of Deputy Rose Conway.
I'll do that. Minister, does Ireland's electricity market have limited interconnection, and does gas have a strong role in setting the price of electricity? And the reason I ask this question is because that was the justification for an exemption for Spain and Portugal from the EU rules. Now that the EU has extended this exemption to all member states, will your department consider actions to stop gas from setting the price of all electricity and reduce the overall cost of the intolerably high electricity bills?
Deputy Conway-Walsh, I had a written response, but it's quite similar to one that I'd given previously, so if I can take that as a given in response to previous question, and then maybe more directly answer your questions with some further information. Firstly, electricity interconnection is a very critical way with other countries of us bringing down the price of electricity here and giving us security as well. Particularly as we go to very high renewables penetration on a European regional basis, I see the development of what's known as the European supergrid, a mesh network grid which also connects into offshore renewable assets as a way of reducing the cost of developing those. And there is real progress. We've just the GridLink interconnector is under construction and will be delivered in a very short time frame, next 2 years I think it is. The Celtic interconnector, interconnecting Ireland and France, has just been approved through Ambor Panola process, and we expect that now to go to construction as well, to be delivered in a similar, very, very timely manner. And I don't think we should stop at that. We're looking at a whole range of different areas. One of the issues I was discussing with the European Commissioner when I met her this morning was how such a mesh network grid could actually help meet our needs. At European Council, there's been a wider debate on the whole issue at market design and whether, as you said, the whole of Europe should go with the sort of approach that the Spanish and Italian and other governments have been advocating. The clear consensus and clear view of the European Council is not to take that approach, that actually in dismantling effectively, or what would be seen as a potential dismantling of a market system would actually fatally undermine investment, regulation, development of the solutions we need here and now. We have to do a massive scaling up beyond compare in development of interconnection, in the development of offshore wind particularly, but also other solar and other power supplies. The market system there, we have to continue to review it and look at it, but the decision at the European Council level is clear, is not, or there's a clear majority not to go down that route, to look and see what measures can be done to protect consumers, but not to fundamentally dismantle the existing European regulatory and market system.
Thank you, Minister, but I'm still very concerned by any argument that sees the benefit of high gas prices. Yes, it will make it more profitable to invest in renewables, and it will attract more companies to invest in renewable projects, but it doesn't fit in with the just transition. Or is it another market-led approach that will leave ordinary people shouldering the heaviest burden? You see, people cannot see right now, they're having huge electricity bills, and what you're doing to reduce the cost right here and right now, not in 6 months' time or in 12 months' time. But is it your view that people just have to bear these higher prices in order to attract more investors to the renewable energy projects? Can you just speak to the situation around the gas prices just dictating the electricity prices?
Yeah, it's not my view that we should just grin and bear it, not at all. But the problem we have is, the key problem we have is some 50% of the power generation, the lights here at the moment, 50% of that, typically averaged out over a year, is coming from gas generation. So we have got short-term immediate issues in terms of social welfare or tax or other measures that we discussed earlier that have to help householders through this difficult period. But the fundamental switch we need to make, and why I wouldn't dismantle the investment regulatory market system we have, is that's needed to invest in the switching to alternatives. We will need gas infrastructure, we will need gas power generation, not LNG in my mind, but we will need backup gas power generation which will use less gas. But it's that switching away from gas is the critical way, from the use of gas, is the critical way of protecting our householders. And we have in both the offshore and in our existing RES system, the one we've just been discussing with Deputy O'Rourke, we have the mechanism to do that. And that will be the way of actually protecting and saving the Irish householders.
Minister, I know that there are issues with the approach taken by Spain and by Portugal, and other approaches have been put forward, such as the windfall taxes, but the core issue remains the same, that gas cannot be allowed to set the price for all electricity. If, as the Taoiseach said on Tuesday, we are entering into a new era of high energy prices, I agree that we need to go from 40% renewables to 80% in the next decade, both for climate change and for energy security. But we cannot be in a situation where we have even higher levels of renewable electricity generation and yet gas continues to set the price. So how high do gas prices have to go before concrete action will be taken in this regard, Minister?
Well, we were, and there are various questions here, but my understanding the original was kind of moving away completely from the market system and going with the kind of Spanish approach. And as I said, the European Council is not taking that approach. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at the market rules and market mechanisms and to see, are there ways in which we can move away from it being the defining price setter. And as I said, we'll work with the Commission and the Council to look at whatever those options are. But at the moment in Ireland, the very fact that it's accounting for such a large percentage of our generation, de facto, regardless of the European rules, means it is actually setting the real cost to the Irish consumers is set by those high fossil fuel use. That's what we need to switch away from. And the market rules we will continue to review with the European Commission.